Welcome back to Kringle's Christmas Stories, brought to you by KringlesChristmas.com, home of Comet's Choice Premium Reindeer Food, reindeer tested, Santa approved. And today we are diving deep into The Snowkeeper's Secret, a story that blends fantasy, environmental concern, and a young protagonist facing some extraordinary challenges.
It's going to be fascinating to explore how this fictional narrative reflects real-world anxieties about our relationship with nature and the power of individual action.
Exactly. So without further ado, let's jump right into the story. The town of Aurora Vale had waited for the snow all December, their hopes pinned to the heavens for a miracle of frost. The world seemed unnervingly quiet without its familiar blanket of white. Children skated on dry streets instead of ice. The lake, which usually froze solid by the first week of winter, lay still and reflective, mirroring the cloud-heavy sky. On Christmas Eve, the miracle arrived not as the gentle drift they anticipated, but as an otherworldly spectacle. The snowflakes didn't simply fall. They pirouetted like dancers, casting light that shimmered faintly as they spun. Each flake carried a faint hum, a sound too subtle for most to notice. Arlen, perched by his attic window with his hearing aid amplifying the quietest tones, heard the music of the Frostborn dance. It wasn't just snow falling, it was a message, a call to someone who could hear. As the first snowflake landed on his windowsill, Arlen felt an inexplicable shiver of connection, like a spark leaping between his heartbeat and the icy world beyond. The snowflake lingered on the edge of his hand, its crystalline structure glimmering faintly. A voice as soft as the rustle of silk reached its ears. "Arlen," it whispered, "we need your help." The boy's breath caught as he whispered back, "Who are you?" "I am Lyric," it said, trembling slightly as though gathering strength. "And my kind, the Frostborn, are in grave danger." The snowflake's tale spilled out in a torrent of words that carried both urgency and sorrow. Lyric explained that the Frostborn were ancient beings, guardians of the winter magic that maintained the balance of the sands. Every winter they performed the Whispering Dance, a ritual that wove their energy into the fabric of the earth, replenishing the natural cycles of cold and warmth, death and renewal. "But something is wrong this year," Lyric explained, her voice quivering. "The warming of the planet, accelerated by human neglect, has weakened our magic. Without the Whispering Dance, winter's balance will crumble. The snow will cease to fall, the rivers will run dry, and the earth itself might grow hostile to life." Arlen's chest tightened. "Why are you telling me this? I'm just a kid. What can I do? We need a human to restore the connection," Lyric said. "Someone who can help us perform the dance. Will you listen?" Arlen hesitated, doubt shadowing his thoughts. "What do I have to do?" he finally asked. Lyric's faint glow brightened. "You must come with me to the forest," she said. "There's no time to waste." The forest at the edge of Aurora Vale was an enigma. Most children avoided its towering trees, claiming it was haunted by shadows that moved when no one was looking. But Arlen had always been curious about it. Guided by Lyric's faint glow, he ventured into the woods, the snowflakes trailing him like a protective cloak. The air grew colder with each step, the silence around him deepening until it felt like he had stepped into another world. The trees were frosted with ice that shimmered like diamonds, their branches curving to form arches as if welcoming him to some hidden cathedral. "At the heart of the forest lies the Vale of Winter," Lyric explained as they walked. "It's a place where the Frostborn's magic is strongest. There you will meet the Snow Queen." Arlen stopped short. "The Snow Queen?" He echoed, a mix of awe and doubt in his voice. "She is the last of her kind," Lyric said, her glow flickering faintly. "A being who has protected the Frostborn for centuries, but even her power is fading." The Vale of Winter was more magnificent than anything Arlen could have imagined. The clearing was bathed in the soft, ethereal light that seemed to emanate from the snow itself. At the center stood a throne carved from pure ice, its surface etched with patterns that looked like constellations. Seated upon it was the Snow Queen, her form radiant and otherworldly. She had hair that flowed like silver streams, eyes that shimmered with the light of distant stars, and a crown made of frost-touched branches. "You have come," she said, her voice as melodic as the chime of icicles in the wind, "and with you a spark of hope." Arlen felt himself bow instinctively, though he wasn't sure why. The queen rose from her throne, her gaze piercing but kind. "The Whispering Dance has not been performed in decades," she said. "The world has forgotten the old songs, the rituals that once tethered humanity to the magic of the seasons. But you, Arlen, you can help us remember." "Me?" Arlen asked, his voice cracking. "How? I don't know anything about magic." The Snow Queen's eyes softened, her expression reassuring. "The magic knows you," she said. "Trust it." She handed him a silver bell, its surface engraved with symbols that seemed to shimmer as he held it. "This bell will awaken the memory of the Whispering Dance," she said. "But it will not be enough. You must believe in the magic, and you must lead the dance." Arlen's stomach twisted with doubt. What if I fail? The queen stepped closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. "The smallest flake can begin an avalanche," she said. "Even the smallest among us can bring change." Taking a deep breath, Arlen rang the bell. The sound was unlike anything he had ever heard, a deep, resonant tone that seemed to ripple through the air, waking the trees, the stars, and the very ground beneath his feet. The snowflakes began to move their dance, a kaleidoscope of light and motion. Lyric was among them, her tiny form glowing brightly as she twirled and spun. The Whispering Dance was both a song and a story, each flake contributing its voice to the symphony. The air vibrated with their harmony, a sound so pure it brought tears to Arlen's eyes. As he moved, guided by instinct rather than knowledge, he felt the magic flowing through him. It was as if he had become part of the snow, the forest, and the stars. The dance reached its crescendo, the snowflakes' light merging into a brilliant aurora that painted the sky in ribbons of green, purple, and gold. The queen raised her arms, her voice joining the symphony in a final triumphant note. When the dance ended, the forest was still, but the air was charged with energy as though the earth itself had been reborn. The Snow Queen's gaze met Arlen's. "You have done what was thought impossible," she said. "Winter's balance is restored, and the Frostborn's magic has been renewed." Arlen looked at her, his heart swelling with pride and gratitude. "But will it last?" She nodded, though her expression was tinged with sadness. "For now the earth breathes again, but the true balance lies in the hands of humanity." When Arlen returned home, the first light of Christmas morning was breaking over Aurora Vale. The town lay beneath a perfect blanket of snow, each flake glimmering faintly, as if carrying the memory of the dance. Arlen stood in the stillness, his heart full of wonder. He knew the magic he had witnessed would remain with him forever, a reminder of the delicate balance that sustained the world. As the snow continued to fall, he heard Lyric's voice one last time. "The smallest flake can begin an avalanche," she whispered. Smiling, Arlen whispered back, "And even the smallest person can make a difference."
That story's opening, it sets a captivating scene. It's like the author deliberately withholds the snow, building anticipation for its arrival, and then delivers it in such a spectacular way. Those dancing snowflakes whispering secrets, it instantly pulls you into this magical world.
Right, it's not just snow. It's a symphony,
Mm-hmm.
a message, a force of nature with its own agency. And Arlen, with his hearing aid, is the one attuned to its subtle music. It sets him apart, doesn't it? Like he's chosen not just because of his ability to hear, but also because of his willingness to listen.
Exactly. It's a subtle but powerful way of highlighting the importance of attentiveness, of being receptive to the whispers of the natural world, and this idea of a forgotten connection of humanity losing touch with the rhythms of nature. That's a powerful theme that resonates with current environmental concerns.
It makes you think about how we often overlook the intricate workings of the natural world, the delicate balance that sustains us. It's like we've become so accustomed to the comforts of modern life that we've forgotten our dependence on these natural cycles.
And the Frostborn, these ancient beings who embody winter's magic, they represent something vital that we're at risk of losing. Their fading power is a direct consequence of our actions, of our neglect.
It's almost like a cautionary tale, a reminder of what we stand to lose if we continue down this path of environmental disregard.
What strikes me is how the story uses a young protagonist to convey this message. Arlen's innocence and wonder make the threat feel even more urgent because it's not just his world at stake, it's the future of generations to come.
And yet there's also a sense of hope, right? Arlen's willingness to step up to face the unknown suggests that even in the face of daunting challenges, individual action can make a difference.
Exactly. It's not about grand gestures. It's about those small acts of courage, of belief, of listening to that inner voice that tells us to do what's right.
So he ventures into the forest, this mysterious, almost mythical place, and meets the Snow Queen. What did you make of her character?
She's a fascinating figure. She embodies wisdom and power, yet she's also vulnerable. Her fading magic reflects the fragility of the natural world and her dependence on their novel. Arlen underscores the idea that we, humanity, have a role to play in restoring balance.
And the silver bell she gives him, it's not just a tool, is it? It's a symbol of belief, of the power that comes from connecting with something larger than ourselves.
And the fact that it awakens the memory of the Whispering Dance suggests that this connection isn't something new. It's something ancient, something we've forgotten but can rediscover.
It's like the story is reminding us that the knowledge, the wisdom we need to heal our relationship with nature, it's already within us. We just need to tap into it.
The Whispering Dance itself is such a beautiful and evocative image. It's a reminder of the interconnectedness of everything, of the delicate dance of life that sustains us all. And Arlen, by leading this dance, becomes a bridge between humanity and the natural world.
It's a powerful metaphor for the role we can all play in restoring harmony. So he performs the dance, the magic is renewed, winter returns, but it feels like a fragile victory, doesn't it? Like it's just the beginning of a much larger struggle.
Exactly. The Snow Queen's warning about the true balance lying in the hands of humanity suggests that this is just the first step. The real challenge lies in sustaining that balance, in making the choices that will prevent the shadow from returning.
So we're left with this sense of anticipation, of wondering what lies ahead for Arlen, for the Frostborn, and for our world.
And it makes you think, doesn't it? What are the shadows we're creating in our own world? And what are the whispering dances we need to rediscover to restore balance?
That's a question worth pondering.
Indeed. This story has given us a lot to unpack, but I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg. Shall we dive into the next chapter?
Let's do it.
That journey to the frozen gate is a real trial by ice and shadow. The landscape itself seems to reflect the growing power of the shadow, becoming more treacherous, more desolate.
It's like the environment itself is mirroring the internal struggle. Arlen is facing the weight of responsibility, the fear of failure. And those shadow minions, they add a real sense of urgency and danger, don't they?
They're a tangible manifestation of the shadow's power, these fragmented bits of darkness seeking to consume anything that threatens their master. And the way they're described, constantly shifting, indistinct, it ties into our primal fears of the unknown, of being hunted by something we can't fully comprehend.
It reminds me of those moments in life when we feel surrounded by negativity, by forces that seem determined to drag us down.
Exactly. It speaks to a universal human experience, that feeling of being overwhelmed by forces beyond our control. But what's crucial is how Arlen responds. He doesn't succumb to fear. He keeps fighting, keeps moving forward, even when he's exhausted and terrified.
And that silver bell, while powerful, isn't enough on its own. It's a tool, yes. But it's Arlen's connection to the magic, his growing belief in himself and his purpose, that ultimately allows him to push back against the shadow.
The bell represents the external support we receive in life, from friends, family, or even tools and resources. But true strength comes from within, from cultivating that inner resilience, that unwavering belief in our ability to make a difference.
So he reaches the frozen gate, this boundary between light and darkness, and it's almost like a portal to another dimension, right? A place where the rules of the ordinary world no longer apply.
It's a liminal space, a threshold where he must confront not only the shadow, but also his own doubts and fears. The fact that the gate is dormant until Arlen arrives suggests that he is the key to awakening its power, the catalyst for restoring balance.
And the shadow in its full form is both terrifying and strangely compelling. It's not just a villain, is it? It's a force of nature, a consequence of imbalance.
Exactly. It's the embodiment of all that we've neglected, all that we've allowed to fester. Its argument that it's born from our world, our choices, forces us to confront our own complicity in the problems we face.
It's a powerful message. It's like the story is saying, look, we can't just point fingers at some external evil. We have to look inward, acknowledge our role in creating the very problems we're trying to solve.
And Arlen's response, his decision to fight for balance, for hope, even though he recognizes humanity's flaws, is what makes him a true hero. He doesn't shy away from the complexity of the situation. He embraces it.
He doesn't have all the answers. He doesn't have some grand plan to fix everything, but he's willing to step up to fight for what he believes in.
Yeah.
And that's what makes him so relatable, so inspiring.
And the final confrontation, it's not just a battle of magic, it's a battle of wills, of belief systems. Arlen's connection to the Frostborn's magic is amplified by his own inner strength, his unwavering belief in the possibility of a better world.
It's like the story showing us that hope is a powerful force, a source of energy that can fuel our actions and inspire change. And the shadows claim that it will always return. It's chilling, but it also feels realistic.
It's a reminder that the fight for balance for a sustainable future is an ongoing process. There will always be challenges, setbacks, moments of doubt. But what matters is that we keep fighting, keep believing, keep working towards a better future.
And that final image of Arlen walking back into Aurora Vale, the bell in his pocket, the magic humming within him, it's a perfect blend of hope and responsibility. He's not just a boy who saved winter. He's become a guardian, a protector.
It's a beautiful ending, but it also leaves us with a sense of urgency, doesn't it? Like, okay, the immediate crisis has been averted, but the work is far from over. It's a call to action, a reminder that we all have a role to play in shaping a more balanced and sustainable future.
It's a story that stays with you, makes you think about your own choices,
Yeah.
your own role in the world.
This has been a fascinating deep dive. It's amazing how a simple story can spark such profound reflections.
Thanks for dropping by Kringle's Christmas Stories, and have a very Merry Christmas. Remember to get your Comet's Choice reindeer food at cometschoice.com.